Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with the next update for my top 5, bottom 5 project pan, and I have quite a lot of products to talk about today. I have them all here in my tray. So it's gonna be, I'm hoping not to be too long of a video, but I'm gonna just jump right in. But before we do that, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. But let's just start talking about the products that have been in here for the longest. So I'm gonna start talking about the blushes because those are the ones that have been in here for 2 months now, and actually last update I didn't roll any of the blushes out, so I do have all 10 to talk about today. I'm gonna go in the order of where I randomized them, or put them in rather, and we're gonna talk about them then. So I just need to find the right blush and I'm just gonna jump into it. So the first blush that I am gonna speak about is the shade Gina from Nars. This is what this blush looks like. I did use this an additional 3 times over the last month, and I have now used it 5 times. Just so I don't have to repeat it, I have actually reached 5 uses on all of these now. But with this blush, I love this blush. It's such a stunning shade, and I feel like this is one of the kind of perfect shades for me. And this is the blush that I ranked the highest in my ranking my blushes video, and yeah, I still love it equally much as I did when I put this in the project. The second blush is another one that I absolutely love, and I'm really happy that I have gotten some more use out of, and that is the Nabla Skin Glazing Powder in the shade Independence. I did reach for this an additional 2 times, and I love this shade. It's kind of like a, it's weird because it looks kind of warm tone, but then also kind of like a mauve, so it is a very flexible shade, and I feel like it depends on what you pair it with kind of what type of tones come up. But it's a stunning shade, and the powder is just so finely milled, and I really love the formula. I am tempted to pick up more of these powders, but for now I don't think I need them in my collection. But it is a beautiful blush if you haven't tried these from Nabla. The next blush that I have is one from Dior, and this is the Rosy Glow Blush. And this one I reached for an additional 1 time, and again I've reached for it 5 times now. This is one of my kind of all-time favorite blushes. I don't love it as much now as I used to. I used to feel like this was my absolute holy grail, but it is still a beautiful shade, and it's a very kind of cool tone pink, but I just feel like it makes you look very blushed and healthy. But I do really love this one still, and the only thing with it is that it is quite expensive, so I feel like you would be better off looking for something similar in a more affordable brand. But something like this that is super bright and kind of pink does brighten up your cheeks a lot. Next up we have Luster, again from Nars. This is what this one looks like. It is an absolutely beautiful, perfect for this time of year I would say, blush. It is more of a kind of neutral blush with a gold shimmer running through it. I did reach for this an additional 2 times this last month, and it is another one that I really enjoy. All of the ones I've spoken about, as well as the next one, were all in my top 5, and I still love them all. So I'm just really happy that I've gotten some more use out of these, because since I have so many blushes in my collection, I rarely reach for some of them. So putting them in this project has been really useful. Then the final blush that was in my top 5 is the Wild Honey blush from Becca. Again, this is one that is a bit more neutral, and I did reach for this one an additional 3 times over the last month. It is stunning, and I do really like it. I feel like this one and Luster are quite similar in tone. It's just the Luster have that kind of gold shimmer running through it, but both of these are awesome kind of more neutral blushes if you're looking for something like that. And I would say if you're looking for something matte, go for the Becca blush. If you're looking for something with a bit of a sheen, go for the Nars Luster. The rest of the blushes are now in the bottom section of my ranking, and the next blush is the Goule, or it's spelled Goulue, and this was like a gift from Sephora for like the VIB Rouge gift or something like that. I can't remember, but this is what this blush looks like. It's a very kind of plum tone blush, and the reason why I ranked it a bit lower is because it is just kind of that tone that I'm not absolutely in love with. But I've actually been happily surprised with this blush. I feel like I like it more now than I did when I first put it into this project. I have to be very gentle with it. I can't put loads of this on because it is very pigmented, but if I do use a light hand with this, it is actually really beautiful, and I feel like I've got a new appreciation for this blush. Next up we have another Nars blush. A lot of blushes that I had in here were Nars blushes, but this is in the shade Matahari, and this is again kind of like a plummier tone, but it is a very blue toned, cool tone pink blush. I actually have been happily surprised by this blush. I mentioned it briefly I think in the last video, but I actually really like this blush now. I feel like it does go with my skin tone, but again I have to be a bit gentler with this one than, for example, the Dior blush. That one I can just pile on because it goes so well with my skin tone. With this one, if I put on too much, I feel like it looks like I have like a bruise on my cheeks. But if I use a light hand, I do actually really like this now. So it is another one that I feel like I've fallen a bit more in love with. And I just realized as well, I think I forgot to mention the uses on these. This one I used an additional 4 times, and this one I reached for additional 2. We have 3 more blushes to go. The next one I'm going to speak about is the Benefit Lolli Tint. This is another one that I actually do like now a bit more than I did before starting this project. I did reach for this an additional 4 times over the last month, so majority of the uses was in the last month. And I feel like I do like this. You have to be careful with the shade though, because if you don't blend it out quite quickly, it can kind of leave a streak on your skin. And I think this is the only Benefit tint blush that I have had that issue with. But overall, the color is actually more flattering than I thought it was. It's a very kind of purpley pink, as you can see. But yeah, it does work better for my skin tone than I thought it did. So I do like it, and I am happy that I have it in my collection. Next up, we have the last blush that is in here, and that is the shade Free Soul. This is, like I always mention, more of a kind of highlighting blush, and I did reach for this an additional 3 times over the last month. I do have this in my Shop My Stash at the moment, so I am currently working on it a little bit still. I'm still so torn about how to feel about this blush. I sometimes put it on and I love it. Sometimes I feel like it doesn't go in my skin tone and it just looks too frosty. So I think when I do wrap up my Shop My Stash, I'm gonna make the decision on what to do with this one at that point, because it could be something that I potentially declutter. But yeah, I just need to kind of play around with it a bit more. So this one I'm still unsure about, but for now it's staying in my collection. Then the very final blush that I have to speak about is the Physician Formula Butter Blush in the shade Plum Rose. This one I reached for an additional 3 times over the last month, and I do actually like this now better than I did before. This was the blush that I ranked all the way at the bottom in my ranking video, because it is such a light shade, and it again can make me look a bit strange. But I feel like if I pair this with the right makeup and build it up on my cheek, it can actually look quite nice. Also, someone gave me the suggestion of using this to blend out brighter blushes, and I did that as well, I think once, and it does work well for that as well. So I have again found a use for this in my collection, and yeah, I do like it now. It's definitely not something that I will reach for every day, but I am happy that I have it to play around with. So we have now gone through all of the blushes. We're going to move on to the foundations, which are the ones that I rolled in last month, and I have hit my goal on 3 of them, so I'm going to talk about those first and then wrap up the rest of the foundations. The first foundation that I've reached my 5 uses goal on is my Maybelline Dream Urban Cover foundation in the shade Warm Ivory. This is actually the foundation that I'm wearing on my skin today, and I really like it. It was the one that I ranked the highest in my ranking video. I just feel like the shade is slightly off for me. It's slightly too light, and I think that's why I don't like it as much as I thought I did. I feel like now I would potentially put this slightly lower down in the ranking, but it's still one of my absolute favorite foundations, and I am really happy to have it in my collection. I feel like it's just something that would suit me better maybe in dead of winter when I'm at my absolute palest, although we are kind of in December now, so I feel like I should be at that point. So maybe I'm just kind of trying to convince myself that I will get paler enough to use this by itself. Otherwise, I just have to mix in a tiny bit of a dark foundation to make this work for me. So if I ever do repurchases, I probably pick up the next shade up. The next foundation that I use 5 times now is the Airbrush Flawless Foundation from Tilbury, and I have mine in shade 3 Warm Shade. This shade works perfectly for me. It's a perfect match, and I actually really love this foundation. It's a super nice foundation on me. I think I ranked this in number 6 when I did my foundation ranking, but I didn't mention that this was something that I hadn't really played around with too much, and I would definitely rank it higher than that now because it is such a stunning foundation. It is something that I probably will reach for a bit more when I'm done with this project, especially when I will go out and yeah, just kind of go to the office and stuff again, because it's just something that I feel like lasts really well on my skin, and it just looks super flawless, as the name suggests. Then the final one that I hit my goal on is the Garnier BB Cream in the shade Medium. This one is way too dark for me, so I have used it. I think I used it twice to mix in with other foundations. I did use it with the Maybelline foundation twice to make the color work for me better. But I also use it like I did today, where I actually use it as a bronzer. So that is the bronzer that I have on, is this foundation, and I think it works really well for that. This is something that I think that I potentially want to pan, and if I do, I'll probably reach for this as a bronzer, because I do think this color works really well for me in the sense of like a cream bronzer. So yeah, that is the last one that I hit my goal on. So let's just wrap up the usage on the rest of the foundations. So we're going to start from the top. We have the Catrice HD Liquid Coverage Foundation. I've used this one 3 times so far. We have the Revolution Pro CC Perfecting Foundation, and this is in the shade number F5.7. And I forgot to say, I think that the Catrice foundation is in the shade light beige. I used the Revolution Pro foundation 2 times so far, so I need to work on that a little bit more. Another one that I haven't used much at all is my Luminaire foundation. This is the Luminaire Blur foundation, and I have mine in the shade 0 Light Ivory, and I've only reached for this once. Another one that I've reached for 3 times, so quite a lot already, is my Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk foundation in the shade number 4. This is one that I really enjoy. It was quite similar for me to the Charlotte Tilbury foundation, that I need to play around with this a bit more, but I will wrap up my thoughts on this next update. The next foundation I've also used 3 times, and that is the EX1 Invisiwear Liquid Foundation in the shade number 2.0. This is a repurchase for me. I used one of these up back in 2018, I believe, and I do like it. Like I said, I only reached for it 3 times, so I will wrap up this next update as well. Then we have the last 2 foundations. The next one is the Air Flash foundation from Dior, and I have mine in the shade 300. This is the only foundation I haven't used it. I haven't reached for it at all, so I will definitely have to step up my game with this one for the next update. And then lastly, we have the Revolution Conceal and Define foundation in the shade F2.5, which I've reached for twice. So before I finish up this video, I'm just going to introduce the category that I'm going to work on next month, and that is lip glosses. So I recently posted my ranking my lip glosses video, and this is the category that I'm introducing. So I did actually only have 10 lip glosses in that ranking video, and that is all of the lip glosses that I own, which means that I'm going to be working on all of them. So I'm just going to go through them quickly so you know what I will work on. The first one that we have is the Revlon Color Burst Lip Gloss in the shade Adorn. The second one is my Rimmel Apocalypse Peach Lip Gloss. I think this is in the shade Luna. I have had this in a product pan earlier this year, but I'm going to work on this one as well. Next up we have my NYX Apple Strudel Lip Gloss. This is one of their body glosses. I also have 3 glosses from Maybelline. These are all the Color Sensational Shine glosses, and we have them in the shade Glorious Grapefruit, Pink Shock, as well as Cashmere Rose. The next lip gloss we're going to work on is one of my eye candy lip glosses in collaboration with Tanya Burr, and this one is in the shade Picnic in the Park. We only have 3 to go, and 2 of them comes from Claire's, and one of them is like one of the Smashbox Insta Matte Transformers. So this is actually not a lip gloss, but I do count this in this category. So this is just a mini size, as you can see, and this is the 8th one. And then, like I said, the last 2 ones come from Claire's, and they are both the Instant Light Natural Lip Perfector and the shade number 1 and 2. So those are all of the products that I'm introducing. With the lip glosses, I always say obviously that I'm going to use them 5 times, but yeah, when it comes to lip glosses, if I do reapply them, that will not count as a use, because since I can reapply lip glosses a few times a day, I feel like if I do count the reapplications, I can fly through one of them in like 1 day. So I do only want to count the initial application. But let's say that I apply this one in the morning and then I take it off and apply this one later on. That will be 1 use each. But if I do end up reapplying this throughout the day, that is still only 1 use. So that is it for this video, you guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. I am still enjoying this project pan, but I'm kind of running out of categories that I want to rank and introduce to this. But I feel like I'm going to have a few more updates going, but eventually I am going to wrap this project up. If you do have any requests on the categories that you want me to include in this that I haven't done yet, please let me know. I'm not sure I will do lipsticks or eyeshadow palettes, because I feel like that is just going to be a bit too difficult. But other than that, yeah, just let me know if you have any other requests on categories. But there you guys, that's all for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to my next video. Bye guys.